Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your guy, and I want to make a video, a deck profile, about these really special Valkyries. I really like these cards because they're really awesome. And here, let me just show you what they are real quick. So, starting off with Dunamis Dark Witch. She is like the first Valkyria, originally called Dark Valkyria, but it's Dunamis Dark Witch in the TCG. And then we have Dark Valkyria, which is her color scheme inverted counterpart, Gemini counterpart, which is dark, and it's pretty good. After you normal summon her, she can place one counter and release the counter, or keep it to be stronger, or release it to pop one card your opponent controls. Next, we have Power Angel Valkyria. If you have any if you have any light fairies in your deck and you negate something using a counter trap card, you can add any of the other light fairy monsters from your deck to your hand. So she's really good for adding DW here, or our last Valkyria, which is Chaos Valkyria. She can't be normal summoned, and she can be special summoned by banishing a light or a dark monster in your graveyard. So she's really good to summon afterwards if any of our former 3 Valkyrias fall, or for any other dark and light monsters. And she sends other dark and light monsters to the graveyard, which is kind of alright. It's not the plan for this deck. This deck is really just get these monsters onto the field and have them attack with brute force. So that's the goal for this deck. I'm not really trying to negate every little thing my opponent does, even though that's how people win tournaments these days. So to summon 3 of those Valkyrias, I've got 3 copies of Condemned Witch. Condemned Witch is really good. When you summon her, you can add a Forbidden Quick Play spell card from your deck to your hand, and then during your opponent's turn, tribute her to special summon any of the other Valkyries. And then we got 3 copies of Valkyrie Chariot, because Valkyrie Chariot is a really cool union monster. Not really the best union monster out there, but I mean, the fact that it's intended for fairies, the Valkyrie fairies, yet it could be used on any fairy monster. It pretty much, rings a bell with me, because it's something I'd want to use for this deck if we're talking pure fairies or mostly fairies. And yeah, it just fits with the theme. Up next, we have Fortune Chariot, which requires 1 tribute and pretty much does the same thing, except this is more of an attack directly rather than having your Valkyries gain 500 points. That's what the previous Union monster did. So the other one is for enhancing their attacks. This one is for attacking directly, but both protect your Valkyries. And yeah. Up next, I got 1 copy of Freya, the Spirit of Victory. She's really good for powering up all the Valkyries, and she doesn't get attacked or anything. I'm sorry, I keep calling them Valkyries. Valkyrias, or witches, or angels. I've got 2 copies of Crusader of Endymion for my Dark Valkyria, since she uses spell counters. This guy here makes infinite spell counters for her, once every turn. So as long as he's on the field safely, he can continuously give her more spell counters. Of course, you'll probably only get the chance to use 1 and give it to her at most. So that 1 extra is enough for me. I'll probably switch him in and out with Pitch Black Power Stone, or maybe that other spell card, Spell Power Grasp, in the future. But for now, I want to use this monster and see how it works well in this deck. And it's light, so it could be banished for Chaos Valkyria. So it's good for 2 things, not just 1 thing. Up next, I've also got 1 copy of Dark Angel, which is kind of a hand trap. If 2 of my Valkyries are battling and one of them is about to be destroyed, I can tribute the other one to power up the other one. So it's kind of like a sacrifice and sacrifice to save situation. That's what Dark Angel does. Not the best, but it's a little bit of a like a fallen angel, like an angel Valkyria theme. that we're going with. Then Goddess of Sweet Revenge. You know, if we completely are cleaned out, we have no cards. You know, this is mostly for, you know, those people that are just negate every little thing I do. There's a trap card also that's kind of similar to this called Witch's Strike. I'm not going to use that trap yet, but for now I'm thinking Goddess of Sweet Revenge is enough, just because both cards are kind of, I don't know. Or, I mean, this card, I've barely used it, because sometimes people just, you know, they'll leave you with something before they, you know, OTK you. And then we've got Santa Claus finally. All these are light and dark monsters, which would be good. Once they're used, it'd be good for Chaos Valkyria. Santa Claus to, you know, tribute that opponent's monster, and then whether they use it for a link material or whatever else they want to do with Santa Claus here. It's a light monster, so again, good for that Chaos Valkyria. Up next, we got Marshmallow, which I'll probably switch in and out, but I feel like Marshmallow is good because he, you know, he can take all the battle damage. He can pretty much, he won't be destroyed with battle, and he inflicts 1,000 points, so that's going to be a good, like, little annoying thing for the opponent to deal with. They'll most likely just destroy with a card effect, but that's what they'll prioritize. And lately I've been using 3 copies of Lullaby of Obedience. Everybody I've dueled, I've kind of, you know, I've built their decks, you know, friends and family, so I know their decks, and it's just not, it's not fair for them. You know, this is part of the reason why I'm not really, like, using any, like, super powerful negating effects. I mean, not as much as other people would, but yeah, it's because Lullaby of Obedience would, rather than for me to destroy my opponent's monsters, I'm using this card to steal them and use them before my monsters even, my opponent summons them. So yeah, that's what Lullaby of Obedience does. You can guess an opponent's monster, you can pretty much summon it to your field. Power of the Guardians to protect any of the fairies, any of the Valkyrias, but also enhance them every time they attack. It's a lot like Valkyrie Chariot, where every time they battle, they become stronger. And yeah, this is exactly like Valkyrie Chariot, same effect and everything, except that it's an equipped spell card. Probably better because it's an equipped spell card, so I wouldn't have to summon. But you know, I still like the Chariot, so why not use both? You know. Up next, we've got Double-Edged Sword. So, I do have an extra deck, but the extra deck isn't really important. It's just a bunch of throwaway monsters, so no point in showing them. Double-Edged Sword here is pretty much this card and Psychic Blade, I believe, or Psychic Sword. They're good for powering up your monsters by 2,000 attack, so rather than go through a huge transition to summon some powerful extra deck monster, you know, a card like this, or Psychic Sword or Blade, one of those, is good for just turning your regular monster into a monster with over 3,000 attack very easily. Any monster with 1,000 attack can become a monster with 3,000 attack using Double-Edged Sword. So yeah, this card pretty much turns, you know, like any monster, any of the Valkyrias into an ace monster. So there's that. I'll try to speed things up. Got 1 copy of Monster Reborn, because it's always good to use. Got 1 copy of Valhalla, Hall of the Fallen. Help me special summon, especially for those Fortune Chariots. I got 2 copies of Raigeki to just clear out the enemy field. 1 copy of Lightning Storm to either, you know, work as a 3rd Raigeki or as a Harpy's Feather Duster. After that, a Harpy's Feather Duster, because sometimes it's always good to clear out that back row. 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice, which will be added to my hand, which after I summon Condemned Witch. Next, I've got 1 pot of Extravagance to banish an extra deck that I don't really need, or at least it's good to use, but I'm trying to not use it for this deck. You know, it's all about the main deck with this. So Pot of Extravagance. This is a really good card for like Monarch decks, but it's also a good spell if you're trying to like focus on your main deck and you're trying not to summon. And then Pot of Desires. Since we're focusing on our main deck, like this is a card that I actually prefer to not use, but it's really good if it's like a last, you know, like a last resort. If you're really running low on cards, like just go ahead and use it. You know, you never know what you'll draw up the 11th and 12th card, because those first 10 on the top of your deck are going by. 1 Day of Peace, because My angels fight for peace. And yeah, this card is good for just giving you a one turn to survive. We got 3 copies of Cup of Ace. It kind of reminds me of the Chalice, the Forbidden Chalice, but it's essentially just a pot of greed. Sometimes I find myself using this spell card and actually winning and drawing 2 cards. It's very weird. I don't know. It's I guess some sort of heart of the cards kind of moment, you know, where you flip a coin and you're like, believe in the heart of the cards, you never know, and yeah, I'll end up drawing 2 cards. Then there's Angel Statue Azurun. You know, this trap turns into a monster, a light fairy monster with 1800 attack. So it's pretty much another Valkyrie, another Valkyria, and it destroys any opponent's monster that destroys this card as a result of battle. So, you know what? Just perfect to go right in there. Then we got 1 copy of Gemini Ablation. I might add more copies in the future if I make adjustments to this deck, which I have been. This is good for summoning our Dark Valkyria and our Crusader of Endymion, or summoning the Crusader of Endymion after you have Dark Valkyria to give her more spell counters. This is a really good trap. I would definitely, you know, use more. Finally, I've got 3 counter trap cards. Judgment of Anubis to protect our back row, Solemn Strike, and Destruction Jammer. Destruction Jammers, you know, pretty much protecting any of my monsters from any destruction effect. Solemn Strike to stop my opponent from summoning from their extra deck. And yeah, any of these counter traps are good for my Power Angel Valkyria. Pretty much add another level 4 Light Fairy. And finally, 2 copies of Drowning Mirror Force, because Drowning Mirror Force is really good. It doesn't target and it doesn't destroy. So yeah, it just bypasses a lot of protection effects. And that's pretty much it, you guys. Thanks for watching. I know there's a lot more that I can do with this deck, but you know, I feel like I've been winning a lot. Winning friends and family. Tournaments, I'm a little doubtful, but for now I'm pretty content because it's really powerful. The combination, at least, using the Lullaby of Obedience, I feel like that spell carries this deck a lot. But you know, I'm finding other ways for this deck to become strong in its own way. And you know, when it comes down to it, it's all about using the Valkyrias and nothing else. You know, no other more powerful monsters, because I don't want to take away from the focus of, you know, summoning those 4 original monsters. That's what it's really all about. So yeah, you know, thanks for watching, you guys. If you guys have any opinions about how these cards could, you know, be brought out in the field much easier, and I know there's what's it called, Call of the Brethren. I'd ideally have to use it on Chaos Valkyria, since she can't be summoned from the deck, and then summon the other 2 from the deck, and then maybe use Power Angel Valkyria's effect to add Dark Valkyria. Yeah, that's probably it. Alright, well, yeah, thanks for watching, you guys. Have a good one.